Good evening, and welcome to the Division of Fire's 34th Annual Awards Banquet. My name is Jim Sanson, Deputy Chief with the Division. First, I want to thank the Columbus Police and Fire Pipes and Drums for their music today. I'll now ask you to stand for the presentation of colors by the Division Honor Guard.
Honor guard. Hold. Left face. Color guard. Prepare to post colors. Ready. Post. Colors. Recover. Present arms.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order arms. Order arms. Right face. Forward march.
Now I'll introduce Firefighter Alvin Pickney for the Firefighter Remembrance.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. Family, friends, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to ask, first of all, you can all be seated. We'd like to ask if you would all have a glass with the beverage of your choice at the ready for a toast at the conclusion of our tribute. And if you have the ability to, focus your attention on our remembrance table. This table, set for one, with a fire helmet and fire boots in a place of honor, is for our fallen and deceased. This table setting is a reminder that not all of our brothers and sisters could be here with us tonight. The tablecloth is black, symbolizing the darkness and mourning we felt when we learned of their passing from this life. The folded flag is to remind us of the willingness to courageously serve this great nation and all of its citizens and families. The single rose displayed in the vase reminds us of the families and loved ones who supported and had faith in our brothers and sisters while they performed their duties. The red ribbon tied on the vase is symbolic of the price our brothers and sisters had to pay with their own blood. The slice of lemon sitting on the plate is to remind us of their bitter fate. The salt upon the plate is symbolic of the family's tears as they learned of the death of their loved one. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us tonight. The chair is empty. They are only here in spirit. Remember, all of you who served with them and called them brother and sister, who depended on their might and their aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Now, if you will, please raise your glass as we propose a toast. It is our hope this night that with pride and honor, they will hear our voices as we toast to their ultimate sacrifice while serving their city and their fellow man. To the fallen. Joe Rams is here.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Does he know to come up here? Okay. Tonight, the Columbus Division of Fire is honoring a member of our division who has given the ultimate sacrifice. We are here to honor Battalion Chief Richard Richardson's memory by celebrating his life with his family. The significance of his contribution to the Division of Fire cannot be minimized, and while he will be dearly missed, his legacy lives on in the spirit of those who continue to serve. We would like to ask Mrs. Patty Richardson, if you would come up forward to receive the plaque honoring Battalion Chief Richardson's legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Firefighter Pickney. We will now have our invocation with Firefighter Chaplain Joe Lorenz.
Good evening. Good to see everyone who's here tonight. Grateful to see all the firefighters, officers, family, friends, and loved ones. Tonight is a night to give honor where honor is due. And I am beyond honored and grateful for the opportunity to share in the celebration of accomplishments. And I need to say, as chaplain for the division, nothing excites me more and gives me more of a sense of honor, in the sense of recognizing that more than just the accomplishments themselves were the spirit in which they were carried out and continue to be carried out. I've spoken with several over the years who have received merit awards and other honors bestowed upon them, and the thing that stands out to me every time is something that is shared to me and in the presence of others, and that is simply, I would say, is best summed up in the words of our Lord, who said in the book of the Gospel of Luke chapter 17 and verse 10, "So learn this lesson. After doing all that is commanded of you, simply say, 'We are mere servants, undeserving of special praise, for we are just doing what is expected of us and fulfilling our duties.'" That is how we show up. That is a servant's heart. And tonight is a night of sharing about how we show up. We'll hear many accounts of how we show up, taking risks with courage and calculation, making decisions with intuition and recognition, from successful training with intuition and instruction and repetition, with leadership, both positional and relational, and with the value of self-care and self-sacrifice. As we continue to demonstrate these attributes, we will continue to uphold a standard of honorable service marked by honorable character. And that's why we're here to celebrate this tonight. So I invite you with me. I'm going to bow my head, and we're going to open up with a word of prayer and bless the food and continue on with tonight's celebration. Our Father in heaven, I want to thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to join together with our brothers and sisters here tonight. We want to thank you for an opportunity to give honor where honor is due. We invite your presence and your grace to be with us. We thank you for everyone who has safely accomplished what is going to be commemorated tonight. And those we lift up who cannot be here with us tonight, be with them as well. We ask you to be with us. We thank you for the food that is provided for us. We ask your blessing upon it, upon every word that is shared, and just upon our companionship and our time together. Let us enjoy each other's company. And we thank you for this, and I ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Firefighter Lorenz. Now the favorite words in the firehouse, dinner is ready. So we'll be releasing tables as we go along there. So let's start with table 7 and 14. And we'll take about an hour for dinner. We'll get back with the ceremony at that time. So we'll come around and release the tables. Thank you. I'm sorry, and the dinner will be right behind me on this other side of the hallway. You can use these doors here, and you'll see a room right there where they'll be able to serve the dinner for you, a buffet style. I hope everyone enjoyed the wonderful food this evening. Let's go ahead and get this ceremony started. Before we go, I'd like to recognize some of our distinguished guests that we have with us today, starting with from the Public Safety Office, Deputy Director Michael Halloran. And I'm not going to ask you to stand, but if you want to give a little wave and let everyone know where you're at, appreciate it. Thank you. Fire Chief Jeff Happ, Assistant Chief Emergency Services Timothy Moore, Assistant Chief Dave Baugh. And as you're looking for them, they're going to be in the overflow room. They were gracious enough to sit in the other room and let the award recipients be here in the room tonight. So, and Assistant Chief Tracy Smith, Medical Director Dr. Robert Lowe, and from Local 67, Treasurer John Guroy, and Box 15 President Joe O'Brien. Thank you very much for being here today with us. And I would like to welcome and thank you our special welcome to our sponsors this evening. And we have many sponsors that put this evening on and allow us to be at this facility, a great facility at OSU, the Fawcett Center, and recognize them. So CME Federal Credit Union. Crystal, you can go ahead and raise your hand, we know. ServPro, Ohio Health, Red, White, and Q Fund, Box 15, White Castle, and the Columbus Firefighters Foundation. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. I will now ask that we have any veterans in the room, please stand to be recognized. And please, let's take a moment, remember our firefighters in active duty, serving, and our military that have lost their lives for our country. Thank you. Now to the good part. I get to hand this off to our professional MC for this evening. So I would like to introduce from WCOL, WODC, radio host Brandon Boxer.
Thank you, appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. First of all, it's always humbling to be in your presence. First responders, military, firefighters, police. So thank you for inviting me again. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm really surprised to be back here because I butchered so many names last year. I mean, Getter, I can't believe you invited me back, but I work cheap, so maybe that's probably why, I'm not real sure. Anyway, but thank you for having me here tonight. This is a fantastic celebration to be able to honor those who have gone above and beyond. It was a week ago that I saw a news story from New York, and there was a firefighter who had just passed away, and it was a pretty historic story because this firefighter had been retired for 5 years And then 9/11 hit. His name was Bob Beckwith, excuse me. And he was in a very famous photo with George W. Bush on top of the rubble that was once the World Trade Center, 1 and 2. And I didn't know much about this gentleman's story until he passed away. And I didn't realize that he had been retired for 5 years. 2 or 3 days after 9/11 hit, he could have been on a beach somewhere. He could have just stayed home, but he got his old gear back on and he went down to the site of Ground Zero, and he had to actually talk himself through the NYPD, the FBI, just to be able to help out and search for whatever they could find. And I thought, that screams what our first responders do every single day. It's in your blood. You do what you do. I continue to be in awe how the majority of us outside of this room, like myself, would run away from danger, and you run into it. You're either crazy or you're a hero or you're both, but I love you. So thank you. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate that. And Godspeed, by the way, to Bob Beckwith. So the purpose of this awards program is to publicly recognize members of the Division of Fire and citizens of the community who have distinguished themselves through acts of heroism and exceptional community service above what is normally expected or required. And I want to thank the Columbus firefighters who, if you didn't know this, voluntarily contribute the funding that makes this banquet happen. So thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Without that support, we wouldn't be here tonight, obviously. And so big thanks to honor all of ours, those in the Division of Fire and those citizens who are deserving of these awards tonight. So just a little housekeeping here. Award recipients' names attending the banquet will be read, but a complete list of the awards will be referred to in the banquet program that you received when you checked in. So our first award, what's going to happen is I'm going to set it up, and then you're going to see the, okay, there are 2 screens. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to set it up, and then you'll see the rest of the story on the screens, okay? So our first award occurred on Sterling Lane.
My name is Cole Moore. I'm assigned to Engine 20 on 1 unit.
Shane Michaels, Engine 21 unit.
I'm Robert Mitchell. I'm assigned to Station 20.
Greg Ryan, Engine 21 unit.
Lieutenant Mike Thomas, Engine 21 unit. As we're going in, make sure we have all the resources that we may potentially need, which would be an LB kit, or a woman in labor kit, cot, anything like that. We didn't foresee having to force entry with bolt cutters.
The guys had gone ahead of me and came back down and said that we had to force entry, so I grabbed the bolt cutters and we just had to clip the little chain lock. And we noticed right away that the female patient was laying right in the doorway, and right away we could see blood all over the place.
Decided to get her moved onto a tarp and get her outside of the medic and get her transported. We made the decision as a crew to try to find clothing for her because she was completely naked. Looked to the right, noticed all the blood in the restroom, and I made my way into there and started looking around in the restroom, noticed the child she gave birth, child was in the sink, and then I called the rest of the guys in there to meet me in there to help with that.
Incoherently answering questions, no real rhyme or reason to her answers. And then a few moments passed and I heard one of the medics say, we have a baby back here. So as soon as he said we have a baby, I recognized we now have 2 patients. So I radioed for a second medic to take care of the second patient. Went back where they were in the bathroom.
Like small or like a preemie or anything like that. It looked like it was full term. She was really cold. She was in the sink, nothing in the sink with her, just.
Then the baby moved, and I noticed right away that one of the first things that stood out was the umbilical cord was cut flush with the skin, and that's not how we do it. So I know I mean, it kind of hit me that the mother had given birth, and then the baby moved. And all I remember is grabbing, I believe it was a hooded sweatshirt that was in the bathroom, and wrapped her up and just carried her out to the medic, and we started treatment.
And there wasn't a whole, once we got that, in the initial few seconds that it takes to just grasp what you now have, they were moving to the medic pretty quick. And the engine crew at that point helped the initial female patient onto the tarp. We got her on the tarp, put a sheet over her, and carried her down the 2 flights of steps to the cot that was waiting downstairs.
Shane Michaels and Cole Moore, the medic I was with that day, came out with the baby wrapped in blankets. And so then I immediately ran out to the medic, and they're like, hey, she's really cold.
Being on the engine, I help assist the mom down to medic 21.
So they started doing their assessment and taking care of her in the back of the medic. 21s came to take the mom, and then we transported to Children's Hospital.
Monitoring the vital signs, which we were a little worried about because I remember her heart rate being really low. We kind of looked for venous access, but I mean, basically just rewarming the baby and getting to the hospital as quick as possible.
When we passed her off, the baby seemed to be, it didn't seem like it had much improvement from what I could observe.
Basically getting there, and everybody was ready. Children's did a good job. They had their kind of like their trauma room with all their resources available. We just handed off care to them, and runs like that, you kind of stick around and make sure that they're okay, but unfortunately enough, she was all right.
But as far as we know, the baby's doing well now. That's pretty much all I really know.
Gave us an update on her and mom, and she was, the child, last we heard, was fine and was in custody with grandma, so.
Lieutenant Mike Thomas, firefighters Sean Ferguson and Cole Moore are awarded the EMS Award of Merit. Congratulations. Please stand. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, our next award is for a shooting that happened on South High Street. Please watch the video.
Captain Jake Rothoff, Engine 3, 2 unit.
Hi, I'm Mike Belcher. I'm assigned to Engine 2 on 2 unit.
My name is Ricky Harris, paramedic at Engine 3.
My name is Firefighter Worth, and my assignment is Engine 34 on 3 unit.
Tyrone Casa, EMS 11 on 2 unit.
Prior to arrival, Lieutenant Casa was coming out of his room in the hallway, and I heard him on his radio say that he heard the police talk about multiple victims, and Lieutenant Casa proactively started a larger response into this scene, which then greatly aided in the whole flow of the scene. He set the stage right there for this run to go well.
I heard that there were multiple victims, and I could tell by the cops that they were heightened.
The trucks that I was sent with didn't really make any sense. It was like Medic 2 with like Engine 15 and somebody else. Like it didn't register to me that we was going on, a mass shooting type of situation when I first got dispatched. So that was, my first thoughts were definitely confusion and trying to figure out like, all right, what's going on? And I remember turning to the radio. I hear in the radio traffic. Obviously, we click over to the radio, and hearing that coming in, I kind of figured like, all right, this is definitely more than just a regular shooting on, South High.
So basically, we are taught to make sure you have your vest on, your helmet, your bulletproof vest and helmet. In our vests, we have different things for like chest seals for gunshot wounds, GSWs, tourniquets, extra pair of gloves, scissors, just things you would need to properly assess possible victims on scene.
But something I've learned personally is like no matter what it looks like, just walk up, calmly, confidently look for who is in charge and say, what do you need from me? And then kind of get direction. That way, whoever's in charge can.
When we did arrive, there were multiple apparatuses on scene. There were multiple police officers on scene. There were a lot of people around.
Our actions initially were to locate and find victims. We knew that we had multiple victims. The police were grabbing us and pointing us in different directions and telling us where different victims were. So we were trying to get a good count of how many victims we had and what resources were needed.
The scene hadn't been secured all the way just yet, so we're trying to navigate to see who was actually a victim, who was just an innocent bystander, and kind of who was CPD at the time.
When we got in, they already had our patient ready to go. So as soon as that happened, the patient actually got into our back of our medic. He did have a leg wound that was already bandaged and controlled. He was very alert. He just wanted to leave. He wanted to get out of there. He didn't want to be there.
I just started triaging patients. I had one out front. Then I went in immediately inside, right inside the door, and we had a victim that CPD was doing CPR on. He obviously was not compatible with life, so I pronounced him.
Continued to talk with him, and he finally agreed to go, but he did not want any medical attention other than what he had. We got the individual placed on the cot. We started heading to the hospital.
It's a critical patient, right? So blood loss is something you're worried about, shock, something you're looking at. I remember assessing mentation, and I noticed that his mentation was not holding steady. I mean, it wasn't rapidly declining, but it was not improving, even with multiple IVs. So we did wound care. I believe we applied a second tourniquet or tightened down the first one. We might have done both because the bleeding wasn't quite controlled yet. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of tend to the wounds, assess mentation. I mean, I think on those runs, I critically think about intubation a lot. Controlling airway is something very important.
I think we transported 4. We pronounced 1 on the scene, and I think 1 self-transported to the hospital. So I think there were 6 total.
Lieutenant Costa called them ahead of time, let them know we had multiple people coming from multiple patient shop. So that handoff is pretty seamless. We let them know what we're walking in with. We transfer care, let them know what his vitals were and his injuries, and they take over from there.
We worked well through the chaos. That's the reason that I think this run was a phenomenal run for the crews involved. Everyone stepped up. There was not a lot of communication that needed to be said because people knew what needed to be done, and everyone stepped up.
I think we do a lot of training and over the years to do incident command, and I think that's just, it's normal for us to be trained in that. I don't know how to explain it.
Merit is awarded to firefighters Elizabeth Finnegan, Herman Davis, Brian Fowler, and Ryan Utze. Please stand. Congratulations. Well, any firefighter will tell you that compassion is a large part of the job. It was evident on a run on East 11th Avenue. Please watch the screen.
My name is Firefighter Sam Berger. I'm assigned to Ladder 1301 unit. So the call came out as a jumper off of High Street, top of a parking garage. And I mean, we get these fairly regularly, I guess, in the city. But initially, I think most of us are like, oh, there's, someone being a knucklehead, and it's probably typically not someone who's going to jump. So I think that's kind of usually the mentality going into these. Potentially access the patient with the aerial, but also we didn't want to be overbearing and cause him to react to what we were doing in a negative way. So we got on scene, and Lieutenant Janiak ordered me to set the ladder stick up to the roof of the parking garage where the patient was. So that's kind of what we did initially, and then we kind of waited to see what was next. The patient was genuinely distraught. It wasn't, someone being a knucklehead or trying to get some attention. It was pretty obvious that he was genuinely upset and distraught about something. It was kind of dark, so we had the tip lights on, the scene lights, and we could see that there was a male on the outside of the fence of the roof of the parking garage. And I said, I think I can get to him and just wrap this webbing around him and girth hitch it so that I have a hold of him, and then he can't go anywhere. So Lieutenant Janiak said that was, that was a good plan. Told me to put a ladder belt on, but when I got within, face to face with him, I could see in his face that he was genuinely having, a mental emergency. It was like, hey, my name's Sam. What's your name? What's going on? Just kind of tried to have a conversation and calm him down a little bit because, the police department had a hold of him through the fence, but we didn't want to scare him and cause him to, try and jump or try and squirm away from us. So then it was kind of just a more, hey, let's talk about what's going on. Let's get you down from here. We'll figure out whatever's got you stressed like this once we get to the ground. And then he just, he's like, are you guys the firehouse on, Cleveland, or are you guys the firehouse on Indianola? So we just kind of talked about where this firehouse is, and he said, yeah, you guys are good people. And I think he just kind of calmed down a lot, just having conversation about, I guess, life a little bit. It was kind of more personal, just because, again, I think a lot of us are, the mentality is, tough it out and, don't let things bother you. But like Shane Brittlinger was, one of my best buddies. And, Shane passed, there was a lot of like, did you ever think that would have happened? Did you ever know, were there any indicators? And that kind of changed my perspective personally on mental health, because you never know. So there was a short period where I was the only one that had a hold of him. So we decided to bring him back onto the roof. Having a personal conversation seemed like it calmed him down a lot.
Please stand.
Hi there, my name is Tom DeRugin. I'm Engine 42 unit.
My name is Firefighter Stewart.
John Carpenter.
Lieutenant Kirk Krigo.
James Blair, I'm assigned to Engine 4-2 unit.
Yeah, I woke up about 5:30 in the morning for this run. I was familiar with the address. Rob and I have been friends for a long time. And came out to the truck. There were a couple people from the bunk room that came out to make sure that we knew that it was Rob's house. And I got in the truck. I saw the dispatch message said 53-year-old male.
Then I noticed the crew on Engine 4 get out of their truck and join Captain Moore while he was walking. Once Captain Moore got to the medic, that's when he proceeded to tell us that he was having chest pain.
And just the look in his face and the way he talked a little bit, that this was a true emergency. We needed to, act quick and start helping Rob out.
Obviously in distress. He was sweating, he was breathing hard, holding his chest. His wife was there with him. Once I got off the truck, I was the medic on the engine that night. Once I got off the truck, we immediately got him into the medic and started treatment. We put the 12 lead on and immediately saw the this STEMI, and being able to see that, which we've seen a bunch of times as well, seeing that and looking down and seeing a familiar face in pain kind of changed stuff.
So I had a burst of adrenaline. My mind started to go about 100 miles an hour, thinking about what I was going to do in this situation, you know, if the situation went that way, what to do.
But it didn't really change our job at all. We still knew that there was the steps we had to take to mitigate the situation and try to get him to the right place.
We obtained vitals from Captain Moore. Once we obtained the vitals, that's when I called into the hospital to advise them that we had a STEMI alert and that the patient was a Columbus firefighter.
I think he told us in the medic. I don't think I had heard prior to that I remember, but I know on the way to the hospital, I think he talked about it. Said he had one, and I think it was 2010 or 11. And
he was alert and oriented, conscious the entire way to the hospital. The medic crew, I stayed in the back of the medic just because it was my friend, and felt that I could be some kind of good back there.
I think Lieutenant Krigo actually got the IV, and once he had the IV, I was drawing up medication for him. I did his pain medication dosaging and got him the pain meds, and he had already taken his own aspirin and stuff like that, so we knew medication-wise we were already on the right track beforehand because he knew what he was doing.
Knowing that it was serious because of the look in his eye, that changed things for me. And of course we would do that for any of our brothers or sisters on the fire department. We would take that kind of care of them, but it meant more to me, I'm sure, because of who he is to me.
And seeing a close friend like that having to go through a medical emergency is it's tough. It's makes you think a lot more about family.
I'm just glad it was us. We knew him, and if it were me, I'd be glad that it was us as well. Just knowing that the job was going to get done. And
On en route, we decided that we were going to give him some ketamine to kind of take the edge off of the pain a little bit. So we gave him 65 milligrams of ketamine. By the time we arrived to the hospital, he was definitely calmer.
so as far as the treatments in the back of the medic, I'm an EMT basic, so I'm not doing as much as the medics, but we got our standard vital signs, an EKG. The medics, I believe, gave him fentanyl for pain, and so we treated his pain, started an IV, and yeah, we just did all the standard stuff that we typically do for that type of run.
But we all were very well trained, and we knew what we had to do, and we didn't miss a beat. Gave him the best care that we could, and the outcome was great. So
somebody that we all knew. It's just a kind of a different level of I guess of operation, a different level of the way guys think about that, and you could kind of see it in the way the crew operated. Everybody was completely on task. Things happened exactly the way they should.
Most of the time with a patient, we drop them off, we do what we can, and a lot of times we never hear anything. With this, we knew right away, first off, that we weren't leaving under any circumstances.
So just relieved and thankful that everything was okay.
I was relieved knowing that the outcome was positive. Happy that he was able to walk out of the hospital, spend more time with not only his initial family or immediate family, but also with his fire family.
EMS Award of Merit is awarded to Lieutenant Kirk Krigo and firefighters Roderick Stewart. Congratulations, please stand. Well, auto accidents are sadly commonplace until you run across one like this one on Harmon Avenue. Please watch the video.
Matt Snyder. I work as an RO on 1 unit.
I'm Joe Curran. I'm assigned to Engine 3 on 3 unit.
My name is Wyatt Ledke, firefighter paramedic at Station 3.
Tom Rotar, currently assigned at Station 32 on 3 unit.
I'm Brian Barrick, firefighter on Rescue 3 unit.
Todd Allen, Engine 3 unit.
Connor Hamer. Right now I'm at Station 6 on 3 unit.
There was an incident going on, a mass shooting down on High Street, which is what made this run for us so much more chaotic. We didn't have as many people helping us as you normally would for a working extrication with the additional medics that were called. They had to be pulled from further stations because everyone was pulled downtown for the shooting. Initially got dispatched on it's an auto accident at Harmon, and I believe it was Harmon and Greenlawn, so didn't think anything really of it. So we started heading that way. They started upgrading the assignment as a possible entrapment, but the remarks on the MDC were pretty vague. It just said at the curve.
Medic 3, for some reason, was one of the last ones out. The whole station went. As we were coming just down the street, the rescue and the engine were already on scene. They had updated the CAD notes saying that there was several babies involved. A quick look at the scene, all that really caught my eye was the male under the car. But we got out and opened the back door and was immediately presented with a male bystander that was holding a 4-year-old.
Holy crap. It was a mess. Children outside of the vehicle, adult male under the vehicle.
There was a Chevy Avalanche on its side on top of what appeared to be the driver, right below the A post on the ground.
I kind of helped mostly with the 4-year-old.
So while we had the 4-year-old girl, they were working on the 1-year-old male. And sometime after that, the mom of the parents who was in the car, she wasn't involved in the accident, but showed up on scene. She'd actually taken the 1-year-old from the engine crew and then boarded the medic. So we had the 4-year-old, the 1-year-old, and the mom. And the mom actually held on to the 1-year-old and understandably was pretty freaked out. It was really hard to get some information from.
They attempted to put a C-call on her. They had a C-call on her, but she was fidgeting around. They tried to take her sweatshirt off, doing their best they can to get another assessment on her too.
We stabilized the vehicle and then did a quick lift with our spreaders and cribbing and removed the victim from underneath the vehicle. It's a risky move because they're not real stable when you start spreading and lifting things like that. But we stabilized it and then we had cribbing there. So if we would have lost it, we wouldn't have lost the lift. We could have reset the spreaders and then lifted again. But it's much quicker than setting up airbags, especially if you don't need a whole lot of lift.
Rescue 3 had already extricated this guy from under his vehicle, and he's on the ground, supine, and was able to get, I believe, an 18 gauge in his left AC. We backboarded him quick and got him moved to Medic 192, I believe it was.
During the scene, I helped kind of triage which children were injured, who was going where, kind of keeping a tally of which of the crews were going to what hospitals.
As a driver, I tried to position myself to where we could get out of there quickly.
So the rescue crew assumed the position of a medic crew right there, and so I was helping them get stuff and then running back and forth, relaying messages, and then I ended up driving one of the medics to the children's hospital.
So it was at that time I kind of realized a little bit on the back foot, not getting ahead. Mom made it very difficult. It was a very chaotic scene with the bystanders. Everybody's adrenaline was high. And the 4-year-old was really resistive to care. It was really short-handed. So we just made the decision to transport.
Most important things were the ABCs. So obviously we stabilized the best we could. We tried to keep them calm as much as possible. It helped having Mom back there. Obviously that helped them with their comfort. When we got to the ER, they both put them in the trauma room.
As we were at the hospital, 2 or 3 other kids were taken or showed up with the other medics that arrived afterwards.
The medic gave down all the information that he knew from what was going on with both kids. As far as we could tell. It was obviously, like I said, it was a little tough to know specifically what was the issues and things like that.
Both of them had surgery. The 4-year-old girl had some nasal stents placed in. She had busted up her sinuses, She also had some teeth extracted and then a bruising throughout her abdominal and chest cavity to her internal organs, as well as a concussion. The 4-year-old, he had actually fractured an arm and got pins. He broke his maxilla and mandible. He also had 4 teeth extracted surgically, and as well as some stitches. But both were good and discharged by the next day that I went to work.
Ladies and gentlemen, the EMS Award of Merit is awarded to Lieutenant Matthew Snyder. Congratulations, please stand. Well, most know the location of Sawyer Towers. December 25th, 2022 was a horrible day for them. Please watch the video screen.
Captain Brian Fowler, current assignment is Special Events Captain.
Lieutenant Glenn Cecil, I'm officially assigned at Station 413 Unit, but I'm currently filling the role of Acting Captain of the Fire Prevention Bureau. So Firefighter Tom Scholl had Sawyer Towers. He had multiple citations, multiple notices, and that's when I got involved with Sawyer Tower. They had suppression system problems, alarm system problems. And I would say it was probably the spring of 22 when I started getting involved. So.
I would say it was a problematic occupancy, multiple false alarms, malicious fire pulls, had a history of what I would call failure to do routine maintenance on their fire protection system. So we always had a lot of outstanding violations. In this case, we had an ongoing citation because their fire suppression system did not have backup power for their fire pumps. So Lieutenant Cecil had been working Sawyer Tower probably for the last 6 to 8 months pretty steadily, trying to get them to be code compliant. So to the best of my recollection, it got really cold and snowy on Friday. Christmas was on a Sunday, so Friday it started getting cold, freezing below zero, I think -7 or -8. Got to Saturday morning into AM, really created a situation across the city of fire protection systems, for suppression systems specifically, having issues with the cold.
When I got there, Captain Fowler was on scene, and I don't remember if the other chiefs were there, but again, there was just water pouring out of the pump rooms into the parking lot. It's like an ice rink. You go out into the foyer, it was cold, there was no heat. And again, all the systems were down.
We started reaching out Lieutenant Cecil because he had been working on Sawyer Tower for a long time. He had established contacts with a lot of the other city organizations, sections, code enforcement, and even some of the shelters. So he had a good awareness of who to talk to. And so CPD and other city entities started showing up soon after that.
At that point, we had a discussion with the chiefs on scene. That was Chief Martin, Chief Moore, and Chief Ferguson, I believe, along with some CPD personnel. Steve Dunbar, city attorney, was also there. So we just kind of had a meeting and determined what we would need and if we were to evacuate the building or not. So.
There's 400 units there, so we didn't really know how many people were actually occupying their apartments on Christmas Day. We knocked, when I say we, CPD and Columbus Fire and code enforcement and probably some other entities knocked on every single door.
I think Station 25 was on scene, Station 8. They were helping us evacuate the building, knock on doors. They have four elevators, 2 in each tower, and one tower had no working elevators. So if anybody needed assistance down the steps, that's what we had the crews on scene for.
So the people that were cooperative and wanted to leave, I don't know the exact number, I would say 40 or 50 people, we put on CODA buses and they were taken to a shelter.
Captain Brian Fowler is awarded the Fire Service Award of Merit. Please stand. Congratulations. Firefighters receive extensive training to extinguish fires and rescue people. The incident on Benson Drive used all of that training. Please watch the video.
Firefighter Mickey Shepard, assigned to Ladder 23, 1 unit.
My name is Matt Green. I'm assigned to Station 23, 1 unit.
My name is Mara Caldwell. I'm assigned to Medic 823 on 1 unit.
My name is Firefighter Deron Everson. I'm assigned to Engine 23 on 1 unit.
My name is Marcus Moore, and I'm assigned to Engine 23, 1 unit.
Dave Pence. I'm assigned to Rescue 11 on 3 unit. Was working overtime on Rescue 4 that day.
Firefighter Bo Daring. I'm assigned to Engine 23, 1 unit.
My name is Firefighter Patrick Moldovan, and I'm assigned to Engine 23 on 1 unit.
I'm Firefighter Kevin Jones, and I'm assigned to Ladder 23 on 1 unit.
My name is Captain Damon Brock, and I'm unassigned 1 unit, roving in Battalion 6.
Well, we were sitting here, I think we just got done eating brunch, and the run went out. And the notes was stating that it was an AC unit on fire. So nothing about anybody being trapped or anything like that in the notes. So we took off the ladder, and the engine was out on a run, so we knew the engine wouldn't be directly behind us. So we got there. Benson is probably maybe, I don't know, 3/4 or maybe a mile down the road, so we got there fairly quickly.
As soon as we turned on to Benson, we saw a light haze, and that's when we knew this might be a little bit bigger than just a small electrical fire in a window unit. As we pulled up, you could see significant fire coming out the front window where that AC unit was, and from all around it. Part of the siding had caught on fire, and maybe just a touch above the windows.
Upon pulling up, there was a lot of what seemed like a little bit chaos in the front yard. We had to park further down, being the second medic, and
So at that point, I get off the truck, air brakes on, put the pumping gear, tank the pump, just like our regular sequence. Try to take a couple deep breaths. You know, there's still fire outside the window. And at that point, I'm on the opposite side of the truck. So I have the truck in front of me that's kind of blocking my view of the house. As I'm getting the line off, we have guys on the engine that are taking the line and making sure that it's fully off the bed. I look at the front of the house to look for the signal for water. The nozzle's up there. LT is giving me a hand signal that isn't our normal this, which kind of stuck out to me a little bit.
They brought a person out. So we immediately got her cot and took her to the truck.
Lieutenant has met me at the bumper and says, hey, as soon as you charge the line, I need you to come to the front of the yard because we have a victim there.
I was approached by 2 people that were somewhat frantic, and they stated that, you know, they have family members inside. So Captain Brock, I believe at that time, was giving his rundown or just finishing up his rundown. I said, hey, Captain, these people are telling us we have people inside. And so we went up to the front door. I took the can with me. Captain Brock spoke with the 2 people more to get the details of where they were in the house. He went around back. I followed around back.
So when I was on the Charlie side, after pulling the grandmother out of the window, I started masking up right then because she said they're right there in that room. So it's one of those where you're masking up and talking on the radio saying, letting everybody know we're gonna VES the Charlie side. Going in and I can't see anything at all. Search that first room and there's nobody there. Make the hallway, turn towards the Alpha side, can't see a thing. I got my mask right on the ground just like they taught us, not seeing anything. Start going up the hallway, I find the victim, the first victim, the adult. Goes right back to the training academy. What they teach us, if you find the adult, look for the child. I'm not kidding you, right there right next to him, I found the child. And at that point when I got the child, I looked up and the crew must have knocked the fire down, and now what they had done, talking to them later, is they got the door open and then they closed the door to control the flow path. Then when they got the fire knocked down a little bit on the outside, they opened the door and came inside to finish knocking it down. So when they had opened that door and the smoke had started clearing out, I was able to see where the front door was. So I grabbed the kid, I took the child out the front door, I said, I've got another one in there I got to go back in and get. So I went back inside, and when I got to the adult, Firefighter Moldovan was there at the feet already. And I don't even know if we said anything. And I grabbed her under the arms, and he grabbed her under the legs, and we were able to get her out, and then Mickey helped me get her across the threshold.
Coming to the front yard for the fire, saw there was another victim in the front yard, and Mickey Shepard, the driver of the ladder, was kind of assessing them. I saw that she was breathing but had some obvious burns on her.
So we got her out, we checked for pulse and breathing. She was breathing, had pulses, she was unconscious. So we opened up her airway to give more air to her, and we asked for a firefighter to go get a kit off an engine, or we have an airway kit on the ladder, so we were just going to try to get her some oxygen.
So we got IVs, both of us bilaterally. We did more assessment, checking the burns if we needed to do any additional care there. There was the monitors on, we're checking blood pressures, a lot of moving parts at once. The coordinator was jumping in between both medics to assist the other medic with the child and us. So he was in there at some point and giving us the medications we needed to RSI. And once we gave those medications and they took place, and we were able to perform intubation, it went pretty smoothly.
We started wheeling the baby back to the medic. We figured getting her on the medic with all our supplies away from the chaos of the fire grounds was the best thing for her to do, rather than to stop and start treating her right there on the scene.
The little girl, I think she was 2 or 3 years old. When I got in the back, she was barely breathing at all. Kept her turned on her side, kept her airway clear, suctioned her a couple times, didn't want to get real aggressive with anything in her mouth just because of the burns that she had on her face and in her mouth. We didn't want to cause the vocal cords to spasm in any way and shut down her airway. They were ready for us in the trauma room. The handoff was smooth. I gave report to the staff at Children's Hospital, and they actually did some teaching afterwards, saying you guys 100% made the right call by not getting too aggressive, and so great working relationship with Children's Hospital.
So I think we handled it really well. Just went out there and did what we're trying to do. Try not to make any more chaos.
Gentlemen, the Fire Service Award of Merit is given to Captain Damon Brock, firefighters Mickey Shepard, Patrick Moldovan, and Michael Deering. The EMS Award of Merit is awarded to firefighter David Pence. Congratulations, please stand. Interagency cooperation and thinking outside the box made for a perfect run on Myers Road. Please watch the video screen.
I'm Captain Bruni, assigned to Ladder 23, 1 unit.
My name's Lieutenant Douglas Smith, Madison Township, Station 183, 1 unit.
If I remember correctly, it was around dinner time, and one of the things we have now we didn't used to have is we have a lot of comments. And so as soon as I got to the truck and looked at it and seen it said it had a man pinned under a vehicle, I kind of like stepped everything up and said, let's go as quickly as we can. Let's not dilly-dally on this run.
We don't have rescue tools or no special equipment, so you start thinking about what assignment you have coming, what trucks, what equipment we have, and if we're first due, what can we do to get the process started.
So when I first got there, I was kind of confused because the Suburban looked like it was all the way to the ground. There was not very much, it didn't look like there was any possible way there could be anyone under it. And so when I asked the medics, I said, well, where is he now? And they said, he's still underneath there. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. You can't see anything. You couldn't, there's hardly any space. So I said, well, how do you know he's still underneath there? He says, well, he was talking to us. And then he obviously wasn't. So the pressure of the vehicle, once you lose that air in your lungs, you're not able to articulate anything else. So, and that's kind of when I'm looking at Doug and I'm like, well, we got to do something. We can't sit here. We got we got to try, because we didn't know how long the rescue was going to be, before they got on the scene. So that's when we started coming up with a plan to try to lift the vehicle as evenly as possible and putting people in positions to do that, and everybody just jumped right in. And so we just tried, and it wasn't like you could lift the whole, it wasn't obvious, we knew we were lifting it, and we'd shove the tires in, and we'd have somebody, and we'd lift again, and we'd shove the tires in again, and it was about the third lift, and every time we did something, we saw, like I saw a leg pop out, and then the next time we did it, he actually made a noise like, thank you. So I was like, okay, we're gaining, so let's just keep going. We never got it quite high enough to put the jack stand back on it.
So yeah, once we was able to lift the truck up and we stuck the wheels underneath to support it, he kind of come crawling out on his own, really, with little assistance.
And I even remember one of my firefighters, he was actually laying on his back, putting his feet up into the wheel well to try to make it like a leg press, to try to actually gain some extra strength that way. And whatever everybody did worked. and afterwards, it happened so quickly, you were just kind of like, wow, I can't believe that, this guy's in the medic going to the hospital this quick, and then the rescue showed up, and they were kind of disappointed. They didn't get to get their tools out, but that was okay.
They transported him to Mount Carmel East Trauma Center. Non-life-threatening injuries. He was released from the hospital in a couple of days. Well, we run automatics with Columbus. We're dispatched by Columbus. So we work really well. Majority of our calls, whether they're in Madison Township or in Columbus, we're working with a Columbus agency. So we've got a really good working relationship with Columbus, as well as the other surrounding Turo and Violet and some of them we run with.
Gentlemen, join me in congratulating Captain Philip Bruni, firefighters Mickey Shepard, Patrick Moldovan, and Daniel Mock from Columbus Fire, along with Lieutenant Doug Smith, firefighters Ben Danzig, Kevin Long, and Mike Miller from Madison Township Fire. Please stand. Congratulations. Well, Columbus Fire Rescue training is no doubt excellent, but sometimes, like at this run at Wilson and Valley View Roads, you have to think outside of the box. Please watch the video screen.
I'm Doug Shell. I'm assigned to Station 17, Rescue 17 on 2 unit. So about roughly 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, report of a auto accident with people trapped. A lot of times you can kind of tell from the dispatch whether it's going to be something. And there was a lot of police presence. Actually, police cars passing us on the way there. So, felt that we was probably going to have something. So arriving on the scene, noticed that the accident scene actually started quite a bit down the road, seeing damage as we was rolling in. 12s was already there, engine was set up, good position, hose line down. Medics were already up towards the car. As we were coming on in, police had pretty much set themselves out of the way. Noticed that there was a pretty big concrete planter in one of the businesses down the road that was pretty much disintegrated. Then seen a telephone pole that was pretty much snapped in half. And as we was rolling in, this was probably within the first 200-300 yards before we got to the car. So I worked my way around the car, started at the victim, seen that the victim was stuck under the car. Car had probably rolled multiple times, ended up on its wheels. A couple of the wheels were missing. The victim was laying basically face down with the running board of the car basically laying across the back mid-back, the scapula area. Medics said that, you know, they had no response from him. So that automatically tells you, you know, we got to speed it up, get it done quick. You know, I always try to rely on these guys, and I've kind of tried to preach to them that, you know, we want to be there as little as we can, get it done fast, and get out of there. That's going to give our patient the best outcome. We had no other victims that I could see in the car or laying around the car. Started my first kind of game plan of what I wanted to do was get this car up quick, knowing that when we lift cars, there's always a adverse reaction to everything you do. So if you're going to lift this side, the other side's going to fall. So we don't want to pinch that victim. So took one of the wheels, shoved it up underneath the running board on the passenger side. Try to use whatever's there on the scene to help you out. The less stuff you have to bring, faster you get stuff done. I'd already told the driver and the guy in the back, which was Chris Nyland, you know, spreaders, let's do it. Told the driver, you know, let's get, we need 4 pieces of cribbing. Everything showed up, come back around the car, told him, said, we're going to do basically a lift with the jaws, which we've practiced here. So stand back and watch. I'd say probably took us from time of we got there, time I walked around the car, probably less than a minute and a half, we had the guy out. He was unconscious at first. When we got the car up, he started to respond a little bit. So I got with Engine 12 and the medics, and I said, let's get aboard. We already pulled him out, get him on, get him in the back of the medic, asked them if they needed any help. They said they were good. Well, we try to train pretty much all of our guys the same way. When you arrive, they know what they got to do. So I try to do a quick scene survey, work my way all the way around the vehicle, around the scene, just to make sure that we're going to be safe. Try to get some kind of a game plan of what I want to do. You know, usually try to have some kind of a backup in the back of your mind if the first one don't work, so that you can make that transition flawlessly to get it to work. But you can't express that the training of all of our guys here works so well. You really don't have to tell them what to do.
EMS Award of Merit. Please stand. Congratulations. And now for the presentation of the plaques. Would Fire Chief Jeffrey Happ and Deputy Director Mike Halloran please come to the stage? Columbus Fire has approximately 1,600 amazing firefighters. The following were voted the cream of the crop by their chiefs. Please come to the stage when we call your name. 1 Unit Firefighter of the Year is Firefighter Mickey Shepard. One Unit Paramedic of the Year is Firefighter Michael Thaxton. Two Unit Firefighter of the Year is Firefighter David Burt. Two Unit Paramedic of the Year is Firefighter Joshua Bream. Three Unit Firefighter of the Year is Firefighter Thomas Lang. 3-unit paramedic of the year is firefighter Sean Malone. Congratulations to all of you. Well, this past November, a horrific bus accident occurred on I-70. Please watch the video screen.
Yeah, my name is Robert Funk. I am assigned to the Ladder 24 on 3 units. On November 14th, I had just gotten off work, and I was on my way out to Buckeye Lake to do some work on my camper. And as I was heading out I-70, I passed an accident on the freeway. It was in a cleanup stage, and I saw farther down the road there was a plume of smoke rising up, so I thought maybe there was a car fire or something. So as I got closer and closer to it, I saw there was multiple vehicles, a couple of semis and a bus and stuff. As I pulled up, it just looked like an accident. The semi had rear-ended a bus, and the front of the semi was on fire. The bus actually wasn't on fire at the time, and as I drove by, you could see through the bus, and you could see people going up and down the aisle casually. All the kids, it looked like were off the bus, about 100 yards in front of it, just standing around on the berm. So to me, it looked like an accident that had happened, then like a fire afterwards, and they were just waiting for fire department. So I pulled off on the right. I was headed eastbound, and I pulled off on the right side of the freeway just to watch for a second. Somebody come running from the bus yelling that there were kids still on the bus, and so I immediately drove across the freeway and parked next to them in the center median of the freeway, and got up and ran towards the bus. And as I was running towards the bus, I could see there was a kid coming out of the rear window. He was upside down and he was trapped. He couldn't get out, and somebody was trying to get him, and something on the semi blew. I think it might have been a tire or something. There was a big fireball that came from it, and that ran that person off. Ended up being me, and I think one of the Gahanna police officers ran up and got the kid out. He was pinned, and we had to kind of push up on him. His leg was caught, I think, between something in the bus and the frame, and we took the weight off of him and got him out, pulled him down out of that window. It was up pretty tall, so we got him down out of that window. We were pulling that kid out, we were pushing the window out, and fire was kind of coming up around the edges of the window, and smoke was pushing out around it and stuff too. So probably the rear 2 rows of the bus had started to catch fire. And me and the police officer ran towards the front of the bus, and at that time I ran into a lady that said there were still people, she thought there might still be 2 people on the bus, and at that time there were 2 people laying on the ground at the front of the bus, an adult who later turned out to be the bus driver, and a male student, I think. I don't know if that's when the trooper pulled up or not, or if it was after, but I know at some point the student was not breathing, he didn't have a heartbeat. I know at some point we did CPR on him, but I can't remember if that was before or after the trooper shoot up. I'm trying to put that in my mind, but when he did pull up, I ran over to him to let him know, because there was no emergency vehicles on the scene other than us and that Gahanna police. I wanted him to know that there was possibly people still on the bus, to relay that to fire companies. And I know it was at that moment when we turned back around, there was a gentleman in a red SUV that was inside of it. He actually was out of it when I got there, and he got back in it twice. When I first pulled up, he was milling around at the passenger door almost like he was getting something out. Thought maybe he was grabbing his phone, and I told him to get away from the car. And then he got back in it a second time, and I told him to get out. And then the third time, he got in and actually crawled into the back seat. So I'm thinking he might have been in shock. He was the driver of the red SUV, so I think he was in shock and maybe had a head injury. At that time, we pulled him out of the red car. The trooper grabbed him, me and a couple other people drug him, and the 2 guys drug him to the center of the freeway, away from it and stuff. And at that time, it was pretty hot too, so if we hadn't got him out, then he probably would have, I don't know how he didn't burn, but it was pretty hot. And I know the trooper took off with his fire extinguisher. And at that point, I knew it was too late to get to the back of the bus, because by then I think about a quarter of the back of the bus was on fire. But I knew he was going to run in, and I wasn't going to let him run in there by himself. So I trailed behind him, and another guy got in front of me, and the 3 of us went in the bus, and we made our way towards the back, and he discharged his fire extinguisher, which didn't do much good, but at least he gave it a shot. And yelling, nobody answered us from the back of the bus. The smoke got to him pretty quick, and him and the other guy retreated. I took one last look around at the seats we could get to make sure maybe somebody hadn't come forward in the bus that we hadn't seen. There was nobody there. I grabbed a few of the kids' backpacks towards the front. They were just sitting open, thinking maybe they'd have phones or something if they needed to call home. I grabbed those on my way out the front of the bus and just threw them out on the ground. I know at that time I think fire and EMS were starting to show up. EMS that got there first, I know. There was a couple of ambulances there first, and then the fire trucks got there, I'm pretty sure. But I know we did CPR on the kid for a while, and somebody took over for me, and I think they were EMS workers. And then I turned my attention over to the bus driver who had multiple compound fractures of exposed fractures on his left leg. I assessed him real quick. He said the only pain was in his leg, but he was pretty calm. Didn't see any other injuries. I ended up bumming a set of gloves off somebody and some trauma scissors, and I cut his pants off and exposed. I ended up helping the EMS crews load him onto a cot. And then they took him away, and I'm not exactly sure what happened to I know the kid, they didn't transport the other student that was laying there. They ended up calling him on the scene. And it ended up being 2 kids still trapped on the bus, obviously, after the fact. But we didn't know that at the time. The lady wasn't 100% sure if there were still people after they pulled them 2 off. I had asked her to check. So I don't know, if she ever got back. And I think the trooper asked her at some point too to get a head count on all those students and stuff, but by then it was too late. And I believe they were trapped by the compression of the back of the bus. They just couldn't free themselves. So yeah, we got the one kid out in the beginning, and then the other 2 had been pulled off. I don't know who pulled them off because they were at the front of the bus, and then people were dragging them away from the bus when I'd come around the front. So like I said, we did CPR on the one student and treated the bus driver for the injuries as best we could. We didn't really have any equipment or anything there. Then the fire department got there and did the suppression and stuff. And I hung around for probably 20 minutes after that. At first, the trooper asked me not to leave. I think he just was trying to keep everybody in case somebody had. And then they eventually said if I didn't witness the accident, I could just leave. So at that point, I continued and got my truck and drove out to the park and finished working on my camper. Certainly, it would have been nice if we could have got to those 2 students and got them out, even if they were deceased, I think, just to have them get out of the bus. But it was really weird. When it first drove by, it just looked like an accident. Obviously, the fire and stuff was going to destroy the trucks, but it looked like everybody was out. And you could see people in the bus casually walking up and down the aisle, something, and they're just getting their belongings. And had those Gahanna police officers not pulled up like they did, I probably would have driven away, because I'm thinking I can't put the fire out, and it didn't look like anybody was hurt. But then once I heard, that was a no-brainer. Once I heard them yell that people were trapped, I mean, we did the best we could. We didn't have, I didn't have any fire gear. We didn't have any suppression equipment, so we didn't get the one kid out. We were unable to get to the other 2, because by then the fire had started to encroach in the back of the bus. And I think it was too late for them. I mean, in retrospect, I feel hopefully I represented the division in a good light. I feel like I would like to think any Columbus firefighter going by something like that would stop if they knew that their services were needed. I know most of us probably would. I think there was 2 or 3 police officers, me, and I think one other bystander that were running around trying to do stuff, and the rest was that trooper, and then as emergency workers showed up. So that was not surprising, I mean, but yeah, a lot of people, there's a lot of video. A lot of people shot videos, they went by, but nobody bothered to stop, so.
But obviously grateful for firefighter Robert Funk, who is awarded the Distinguished Service Award. Please come to the stage. Congratulations. Well, the Columbus Division of Fire has been in operation for over 200 years. Check out this video on the screen.
William Hall. I was on the division for 39 years. I retired out of Fire Station 30. I'm also a co-founder of the Fire Museum funded by Columbus firefighters for the last 40 years.
I'm retired Deputy Chief Robert Coles. I retired in 2011 as the Deputy Chief of Special Operations.
My name is Paul T. Young. I'm a retired lieutenant, November 2012 from the Columbus Fire Department.
I'm Steve Hesselden, retired captain from Engine 18 on one unit, and I retired in April of 2015.
A lot of the credit for the current book goes to what Lieutenant Throckmorton and his team in 1976 did to publish the first book, because that's what we started to build with. The start of this particular book began around 2018. I, and I'm sure everybody else in the division, is proud that we have a 200-year history. We are the 4th paid fire department in the whole United States, which is a milestone in itself.
The Fire Museum Archives was a wealth of information, and I was able to spend a lot of time down there and look through all the files, and we were really all on the same page when it comes to, you know, researching and putting content in the book.
There's a lot of work, but I figure it was productive, and being tasked with telling a 200-year history.
I thought, wow, this is going to be a good project, just by the number of people they had in there and the variety of people they had in there. I thought, okay, he's touched all the bases. He's going to cover this yearbook by bringing in all the people with all the knowledge and all the information that has to be there. So why am I here? So I thought, okay, there's going to be a niche for me. I'm going to find my niche and be able to say what I want to say and put into the book what I want to put into the book. So, I mean, from the very first day, I thought this is going to be a good project.
Okay, well, I'll start with a part that I took particular interest in, was telling the history of the African-American firefighter in Columbus Fire.
And we all kind of had special interests that we wanted to incorporate in the book. Like I might have had fire alarm equipment or group shots of crews over the years, or maybe fire hydrant manufacturers and all that kind of stuff. So we all had different things we wanted to see in the book when it comes to fire history.
Bill Hall and Captain Heselton, they gathered the pictures, and I went out and got pictures from other people, but those pictures were part of the yearbook that I liked. I mean, because you saw the activity of the people. I mean, it was written, but you also saw the activity of the people and the interaction of the people.
The first 3 were more like yearbooks. There were a lot of history in them, but a lot of focus is on, you know, what's going on now in the fire department. And so as a result of that, I figured that I could put a lot of meat on the bones of that first one in '76 that was done, and tell a comprehensive history.
You know, when we met, it was kind of like sitting around the firehouse kitchen table, you know, talking, you know, about different stories in the fire service and our experiences on the job. And it was just a lot of fun, and it kind of whetted my appetite to get involved with the museum on different projects and all that. So it really sparked an interest, and I realized how much I really missed, you know, the fire service and being around fire history.
Everybody in this group had a passion for their particular section, the division as a whole, to put out a first-rate project. And Chief Martin led that effort and produced an outstanding book, not only in our minds, but even in the minds of the publisher, who commented on the thoroughness, the proofreading, the content. It's a very large book at 356 pages, and we spent a lot of time to fund a book that size, because pages equal money. And I think not only are we all proud of it, but the publisher has stated he's using that as a sample for other police and fire departments across the country as an example of what the book should look.
Battalion Chief Steve Martin, retired Captain Steve Heselton, and retired firefighter William Hall are awarded the Award of Excellence. Please come to the stage. Congratulations. Well, specialty teams within the fire department are created for runs like you're about to see at Marinova Place. Watch the video.
So, Firefighter Ben Funk, currently assigned ladder to 3 unit.
My name is Curtis Young, and I'm on 3 unit. I'm currently unassigned.
Lieutenant Steve Trenish, Engine 2-3 unit. We were coming back from a run at 266 East Main. The MDT actually flashed up a drowning at Marinova Place when we were on Mound Street, headed back to quarters, and kind of had to make a split decision whether to respond from there or respond back to 2s to get the dart truck.
Ultimately, we made the decision to just go straight there, and knowing that we had the ladder back at the station as well as the medic, and they could bring the dart truck over there to us.
When we first pulled up on the bridge, it didn't look like anything was going on. There were several police officers there. Nobody was really animated. Nobody was pointing. Nobody was making themselves known. So we weren't even sure we had a legitimate run. As we went up over the bridge, they were all gathered on the west side of the river, south of the Main Street Bridge. As we crept forward, I think my actual rundown was that we don't see anything yet. And then I got a glimpse of him in the water and realized, yeah, he's in the water and he's in trouble. And when we got down there, it became pretty obvious pretty quick that they didn't realize the danger he was in. I mean, he was going under. Drownings are pretty quiet. He was head up, arms out, and not putting any energy into yelling for help. He was trying to keep himself on the surface.
You know, Steve kind of took the lead, Lieutenant Trenish, I should say, took the lead and instructed Firefighter Young in the back to grab a couple of PFDs, grab some ropes, rescue throw ropes, and basically meet him down at the water's edge. I parked the truck. Steve grabbed the couple of PFDs and the water rescue ropes, ran down to the edge of the water, threw me a radio, and basically told me to radio the fire alarm office, let them know that we were going to have a firefighter in the water to perform rescue. Lieutenant Trenish entered the water and started swimming toward the individual.
And I thought, somebody's got to get to this guy. And I had a PFD on, so I went ahead and committed into the water. I told Ben and Kurt were there, figure out a way to get me back because it was past the length of a tie-off. I couldn't tether myself to shore. And then as I swam out to him, he went under, I think 3 or 4 times. And each time when his face would go under, he would pop back up, but he wasn't talking. I mean, he was in duress. So long swim. I do remember thinking the water's a little bit colder than what I was expecting. There was no fight. There was no, he was within seconds of dying. I rode him over on my back, leaned back and floated, and I wanted both of us to be able to get our breath back because I was pretty gassed. And I do remember he was bawling. He did not know how he ended up in the water. He was saying that the voices were too loud.
If the person's struggling a lot, they can pull a rescue underneath the water. So at that point, I gave the radio to Firefighter Young, instructed him I was going to be in the water with Lieutenant Trenish, and grabbed a PFD and started swimming out to assist Lieutenant Trenish.
Ben swam out. I think Kurt was on the bank. I know I told Ben, just grab me, don't worry about him, I've got him. And at that point, it's nice on a contact rescue. The rescuer just becomes transportation back in. So they pulled Ben back in. I remember getting my feet underneath of me, and I turned around, and I think I saw Josh Dilger on Medic 10, and I just made eye contact with him. I said, he will be hypothermic, and he's not faking this when he talks about his mental state. He was legit. They helped him up the bank, put him in the back of Medic 10, and took him to, I believe, Grant. It was nice being warm, but I warmed up pretty quickly. And
then I was also the new guy. I knew there was a lot of stuff being cleaned up, a lot of life vests, a lot of throw bags, a lot of stuff down at the shore. So I was cleaning all that up, grabbing everybody's walkies.
But I've got people backing me up. So that was the trigger that said go, is I knew I had a great cast behind me, between my truck and my station and the battalion and the people that were responding in. That's the reason.
But we were happy it was a positive outcome.
The Bronze Maltese is awarded to Lieutenant Steve Trenish and Firefighter Benjamin Funk. Please come forward. Congratulations. Well, Hannah Moore is the wife of Captain Rob Moore. Recently put her training into action. Watch the next video.
I'm Hannah Moore, and I'm related to Rob Moore. He's my husband. So he had hernia surgery the morning, like that morning of, and came home. Everything was super awesome. We went to bed, you know, kind of early actually, and everything was pretty good. Just kind of sleeping, and I heard him kind of like grunt, like almost like when you try and pull the covers, and it was just kind of awkward, and I thought like something hurt from the hernia surgery. So I, you know, hey babe, I'll go get you some water. Do you want to take your medicine? Because he had medicine to take for the pain for that. And he didn't respond, and I was like, oh, well, maybe he went back to sleep. Looked at him, kind of on his side, didn't look super great, and I was like, hey babe, you okay? Didn't answer, and I was like, okay, something's wrong. He made another little noise, and I was like, that's probably not normal. Turned the light on, realized he wasn't breathing. Immediately called 911. After that, I was like, oh, the door's locked and the alarm's on, so I had to run downstairs, undo that. And then the dispatcher was like, do you know how to do CPR? And I said, yeah. And I started working on that. Couldn't get him on the floor, a lot bigger than me. So just did it in the bed. So our windows face the street, so I was doing CPR in the bed, saw the lights, all that stuff. Ran downstairs so they knew to come up, and then that's when they kind of took over from there.
We got on the truck and pulled out, and as we pulled out of the bay, the MDT changed, it updated and said his wife is doing CPR. And again, my heart sank again, knowing that we were kind of walking in that situation with my friend. So.
The engine pulled in right behind us, and we grabbed everything and went inside.
When we went upstairs and, you know, I saw Rob laying in the bed, it was pretty obvious what was happening, so it was just an immediate, I grabbed his arms, pulled him off the bed into a spot that we could work, and started working.
Then I started with the airway kit, getting the stuff that the guys needed so we could, you know, getting bagged and intubated and stuff. And then quick as I got that set up, I relieved Lieutenant Belmonte with CPR, and that's when I started with that.
Up to that point, I had never done CPR and directed an arrest on a friend. So, you know, that was very, that was stressful in and of itself.
Probably the scariest moment for me was watching him get shocked. I'd never seen that before, and that was pretty scary.
Everybody did their job perfectly. There was not one of us in the truck that wasn't affected by what was going on, though. We'd all done it 100 times, but none of us were in that truck that didn't feel what was going on. So we got him to the hospital, and they continued to allow the Lucas to do its job, and more shocks.
He was, you know, still critical. We had a pulse just for a second, and then we lost it again, and the ED staff continued to work him. That's about it. I don't think they regained pulses till he was in the ED for maybe 10 minutes, 12 minutes, I think. So he'd been down for quite a while.
Well, when we got there, there was 10, 15 people already waiting on him. I was honestly amazed that they worked so long and hard. I've been on a lot of cardiac arrests, and that's generally not the norm. You know, they'll do 20 minutes if that, and then they're done.
He had a heart attack in November too, so we were in the same room, in the emergency room from that one. So that was kind of like, oh, but during that one he was talking to me and everything like that, so it wasn't as scary.
I tell him all that he's one of one. Been a medic for 21 years. Everything that could have went right did.
I'm happy to say that rhythm he kept until today. That rhythm started then in the ER, and he still has it today. And that was a miracle to see that. And then there were a lot of things after that happened that were kind of up and down, I guess. So.
For the first couple of days, we had no idea. You know, every day the narrative would kind of change a little bit, like, oh, well, at least he's breathing, you know, or that and whatnot. And then they're like, oh, well, we're not sure about his level of brain activity and things like that. So, you know, a lot of doctors, a lot of meetings. They said he had COVID during the time frame, so we had to get all dressed up every time we would go in the room. So mask, glasses, gloves, gown, all that kind of stuff just to go in.
Chaplain came to give the speech to the family. That's what everybody thought the outcome was going to be. And then, you know, God willing, it turned out a lot better with whatever doctors or Rob's will to be stubborn.
But ultimately, after they were able to get him cool, they kept him cold for a few days, and then they warmed him back up, and then they flipped him over, and he was doing much better after that. So after the hospital, he went to inpatient rehab for about a week. I think it was like almost exactly a week. That was pretty cool. The staff there were super nice. They took good care of him, and every day you could see him start getting better. And then coming home, we had a huge party, but we got little Sicilies and had a big old party. Doing much better. We had some doctors' meetings and stuff like that right after, and they're like, we don't know what happened. You know, you're just miraculous. And honestly, the last couple doctor's appointments, they're like, you might have been healthier now than in November. So everything seems good. I think he's ready to go back to work, you know, as much as I don't really want him to because I got used to him being home. But he seems very excited.
It was awesome. It was a great save. I've known Rob for over 20 years.
I didn't have to do anything. I didn't want for anything. Everybody came in. I mean, obviously they were loving on Rob, but they made sure that I was okay. They said, do we need anything done at the house? Anything like that. I knew CPR. We had done it here once before, so I felt decently confident about it. One day that I had stopped in, they were doing, their like requals, I guess it is, and we had just kind of goofed around with it, trying to see what was going on. I now understand the importance of getting him on a hard, flat surface instead of a bed. Obviously, I hope we never have to do it again, but I realize that importance now. Obviously, how quickly you need to start that process as well. But yeah.
Interesting though too, we had a couple suicides and a chief that died of cancer just before Rob went into arrest that night, and this was something important to the fire department to see that there was something that was going to work out for all of us. So, and this again, I got to sit and watch as a miracle happen in front of me. So that's probably the best thing that I've ever been a part of on the fire department, this particular thing. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're thrilled to have with us tonight Captain Rob Moore. Captain, would you mind coming to the stage, please? And while Captain Moore comes to the stage, we want to also congratulate his wife, Hannah Moore, who's been awarded the Citizens Distinguished Service Award, Lieutenant Kirk Credo, firefighters James Messer, Jason Bliss, James Dennett, Justin Belmonte, and Matthew Ehlers are all awarded the Distinguished Service Award. Please come to the stage. Congratulations. And Captain, did you want to say a few words? Okay.
tried several times to come up with something to say for this. It was never good enough. And at the end, I threw away every copy because the only thing I could say is thank you. I wouldn't be here if Hannah hadn't made the call, if these guys hadn't shown up. I wouldn't have any more time with this little guy. So all I've got to say is thank you.
The newly created Columbus Fire Cadet Program has been extremely successful. Holly Fannin is commended for her work with the Columbus Fire Cadet Program. Holly cares deeply about the success of every individual cadet and has been an unwavering advocate since day one, serving as the program's backbone, ensuring seamless operations and equitable environment. Holly participates in the interviews with the cadets and consistently advocates for the program. She attends every cadet graduation, personally congratulating each one. Without Holly's contribution, the cadet program would be a shadow of what it is today. Holly Fannin is awarded the Citizens Distinguished Service Award. Holly, please come forward to the stage. Congratulations. Neighbors helping neighbors. Please watch the video screen.
Okay, I'm Joey Ravito. So I'd left to go to the grocery store, and on my way back, I was pulling into the community to bring the groceries in. I go back behind where the garage is, and as I was pulling in, I just looked to my left and noticed two boys in the two little faces sticking out of the water, and I could see their hands. I just thought they were playing. I didn't know what was going on. And I continued in and started to pull back behind the garages, and I just looked to my left again, and just as something hit me, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on here. It just doesn't look right. Put it in the park, and I started walking over. And as I got closer, I could see that they were not playing. Took my wallet out, my phone, and started taking my shoes off, and as I got closer and I pointed at the one boy, he was furthest away. He was as the fountain was splashing, I pointed at him and he put his hand up and he went under, and I just instantly dove in. I got to him and he grabbed a hold of me and like he was going to try to drag me down, and I was like, not today. I was like, just took him into shore and literally threw him on the shore, and I turned around to go to get the other boy, and he was gone. I was like, where'd he go? So I instantly jumped back in the area where I thought he was. I really don't know how long it took me to find him, but I finally found him, maybe 20, 30 seconds, and dragged him in. And at that point, there was a couple other people that were on the shore, and they had 911 on the phone, and they were talking to them, and he was unresponsive. Had no heartbeat, no breath, no nothing. So I started CPR. Kept going, rolled him on his side, tried to get the water out of just rolled him back, and then he finally, probably after about 30 to 45 seconds, he just went, took a big breath, and it was the best feeling in the world. It was an amazing feeling. So I heard the sirens when I was giving him CPR, and as he took his breath, there was a girl on the phone with 911, and they were talking, and she was like, he got him back, and then just as she said that, the ambulance pulled in, and I could see the fire. I'm not sure who it was. The ambulance guy came running over, and I picked him up, and he grabbed him from me, and just started running back to the ambulance. Never had any experience with any kind of training or anything like that. But growing up, you know, I have a twin brother, and we were always swimming. We were always, you know, jumping in a pond or a river somewhere. We're from upstate New York, and that's, you know, it was always something that we always did. Or my mom was taking us to a pool, friend's pool or something. So we were very good at swimming, and I'm just thankful I had the strength and the athleticism to actually get them out of there. 'Cause a lot of people, I don't know if they'd have been able to get them. It was just a muddy muck mess up to your knees, and it was deep out where the fountain was. So where the spray goes up and the spray comes down, it was mud to that point, and then from that point it was just straight down. So it was over my head. I just think that the suction from the fountain, you know, sucked all that mud out of there, and I'm just thankful I had the strength to do it. So I've talked to I've talked to both mom and dad, and they were very grateful. They brought me down a card and come down. I got pictures with the boys and stuff. So, and we're actually hoping to spend some time with them at Christmas. So, in the moment, I really wasn't thinking about my kids. I was thinking about these two little boys and what I could do to help them. But in looking back at it, you know, my kids are the most important thing to me, and I can't imagine somebody else not doing that for them. So that's how it made me feel.
Joey Ravito is awarded the Citizens Award for Bravery. Joey, please come to the stage. Congratulations. We trust our high school coaches to mentor our children and keep them safe.
My name is John Sprunger, and I'm in my 34th year of teaching and coaching for the Worthington school system.
I'm Kanan Dickman. I've played for probably like 8 years at least, and I like to play striker. But
The day that this event took place was on Friday, July 7th. It's in our minds probably forever at this point. And it was a typical summer practice. We started out with some conditioning work on the track, and then we're going to step on the field for skill work after that. And he went about halfway through the first part of the training fine, no apparent signs or issues at all. And it was in the kind of the last running circuit that we did that we had our incident.
I felt normal the whole day, and I don't exactly remember that morning, but I know that there wasn't anything that I was feeling that wasn't normal.
He was coming down the track, and I saw him kind of step out from the group and slow down and start to walk. And you know, at this point in time, it's in the summer, and when we go through a number of buildings within the training where we just push and push a little bit harder, and for someone to pull out, especially a younger student, it's not abnormal. I thought maybe he was tired, maybe he was winded, maybe he was a typical teenage boy who probably got up at 30 minutes before practice and had nothing to eat or drink before practice, and maybe he was a little, dizzy or something like that. So, but I was watching him, and then he started to wobble a little bit, and we've seen athletes who get a little lightheaded sometimes and fall, and he started to wobble, and then he fell, but he fell in a way that was uncharacteristic of the way I see other people fall. I just remember that, I describe it as he just kind of crumpled to the ground. He didn't kind of stumble and lose his balance and fall. It was almost like he just shut off and just collapsed right at the spot. My assistant coach and I went to his side, and he was fairly stiff. I thought, well, maybe we're having a seizure. Maybe it wasn't a fainting, maybe it was a seizure. And we rolled him over, and he was tight in his muscles and gasping for breath. So at first I thought we just were having a seizure, but I did check a pulse. We had one, but then things went from kind of bad to worse in a period of about 30 seconds. And in that time frame, I lost the pulse, and then I knew we were in trouble. At that point, we called 911, so we called for the paramedics, and then I sent the assistant coach in to get the AED, which was about 50 yards away from the building, and then I went immediately into CPR mode. I went through maybe 4 cycles of CPR while we were waiting for the AED to arrive, and then my assistant coach unpacked the AED, got the 2, I describe them as paddles, ready, and he said, get out of the way, and I just kind of stepped back. He put the paddles on, and we started up the AED machine, and then we kind of followed directions that the AED machine gave us. And when it came up and said, shock advised, we knew this was a real situation. And it was probably the longest 8 minutes of, my coaching career. And it was almost kind of like a very relief when they got here, because this is something that, I don't do every day. And they came in right away and kind of stepped into my place, and they said he was stabilized and that we had a heart rate, and they put oxygen on him, and then just took over from there. This first 24 hours were very, we were on edge, is he going to be okay? Is he going to be the same Kanan we knew before the incident?
The first thing I remember is waking up in the hospital, and I didn't really have any pain or anything. And like I said, I don't remember that morning or the day after really, so I just didn't really know what was going on when I woke up.
And as a coach, I was a little nervous, and his dad called me. What was it, the next morning? He's like, I really need his backpack. And I'm like, his backpack? Why do you need a backpack? And then his dad clarified, and he goes, Kanan wants his phone. He needs to connect with his friends. Because of the positive outcome of this incident, the American Heart Association has recognized, what's happened here at Kilbourne and the outcome we have of a healthy, young man here. And they've asked us if we would be involved as kind of a voice to help with House Bill 47, which is a bill where the state is trying to get a law passed to require AEDs in public buildings. We're very fortunate. A lot of times I use the term, we're blessed. We were blessed on that day, because a lot could have not gone the way that it did.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're thrilled and excited to have with us Kanan Dickman, who is here. Please stand, Kanan. And to Coach Joe Sprunger, who's awarded the Citizens Distinguished Service Award. Please come to the stage. Congratulations, Coach. Would Joe O'Brien please join me on stage now, please? Box 15 is an integral part of firefighting efforts. Every year they award one Columbus Fire and one Township firefighter for exceptional work throughout the year. Lieutenant Stu Mack's unwavering dedication to the fire service spans over 30 years, during which he has consistently demonstrated exceptional professionalism and expertise, whether responding to emergencies, training his team, or implementing innovative strategies. Lieutenant Mack displays a deep passion for his work. His tireless commitment to preserving life, property, and the environment serves as an inspiration to his fellow firefighters and the community he proudly serves. Lieutenant Mack exemplifies strong leadership skills by fostering a supportive and educational environment for his team members. His ability to lead by example and effectively communicate expectations enables his firefighters to perform at their very best during high-stress situations. He has led multiple non-journeyman firefighters to successfully complete the journeyman process. Lieutenant Mack went above and beyond to train and teach the young firefighters step by step through equipment and drills to have confidence on the fire ground. Stu is the second member of the Mack family to be bestowed the Max Haberman Distinguished Fire Service Award. Retired Lieutenant Doug Mack won the award back in 1996. Firefighter Stu Mack, please come to the stage. Congratulations. Well, as a new generation of firefighters enter the service, Lieutenant Matt Harding stands out for his leadership, dedication, and mentorship. Matt joined the Worthington Fire Department back in 2007, quickly became a virtuous leader in the department who encourages all to be the very best at any time. During his shift, you'll find Lieutenant Harding coaching a firefighter or peer. In addition to him being a firefighter and a paramedic, Lieutenant Harding is a peer support member of NASTY, hazmat team member, Ohio Task Force 1 member, and the Central Ohio Strike Team member. Other certifications earned by Matt are hazmat tech, fire instructor, rescue tech. Matt is also a respected go-to person on emergency scenes and around the firehouse. Lieutenant Harding is an ambassador for the division on and off duty. He is a role model outside of the fire service who works with the PB&J Ministries baseball program for athletes with special needs. Lieutenant Harding is awarded the Larry Parlett Distinguished County Fire Service Award. Lieutenant, please come to the stage. Congratulations. Box 15 Brett Barber Distinguished Service Award is awarded to a Box 15 member for dedication to the fire services as a support of its mission. Brett Barber was a member of Box 15 for 27 years and worked hard for the care and services of firefighters here in Central Ohio. This year, the award is being presented to Pat. I knew I was going to screw this up. Filet mignon. Pat Mignon, who exhibits all the traits of dedication and service that Brett had done. Pat leads Box 15 members by example and is very caring when it comes to the people we support. You'll find Pat at training events where the pace is slower, so he spends a lot more time explaining to recruits, instructors, and others the importance of hydration and cleaning. Pat is often approached by firefighters who ask when they see his last name if he's related to Craig. Pat's response is with a smile, and he says, "Are you a friend or a foe?" Then, after a few laughs, the story time starts. At fire scenes, Pat will be spotted right in the middle of the companies as they exit the structures for rehab wipes. Behind the scenes, Pat is instrumental with fundraising, public and fire service relations, promoting who Box 15 is and what Box 15 can do. Pat is one of the people whom is always ready and willing to take calls 24/7, 365 days a year, which shows his dedication to the first responders in Central Ohio. Congratulations to Pat Mignon.
did fight.
I knew that was going to give me. I just knew it. Congrats, Pat. Sorry about your last name. All right. Up next, the Fire Chief's Award is hand-selected by Fire Chief Happ for work that enhances working relationships with other agencies and brings a shining light upon this division. Please watch the video screen.
My name is Captain Tom Cerny, and I wanted to talk about the Metro Fire Chiefs Conference with the Columbus Division of Fire, hosted in 2023. What is the Metro Fire Chiefs Conference, you might ask? Well, that's the same question I had for Chief Happ when he asked me to be the conference coordinator for this year's event. The conference brings together Metro Fire Chiefs from all over the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and several European countries. What is a Metro Chief? A Metro Chief is a fire chief that has a department of 350 members or more. During the week, the chiefs got together and discussed and had talked about topics which can affect the fire service as a whole. And during the day, the partners and spouses and sponsors as well had planned events. And then every evening, we had an event which included all of the attendees. All the week's events were chosen to showcase the city of Columbus for all of our visitors. We had an event at Franklin Park Conservatory, Pinnacle Golf Club, Huntington Park, OSU Stadium, COSI, and the Hilton Downtown. All the events were very successful, and one of the biggest reasons was, for the first time in a long time in Columbus, we had 6 days in a row of sun and low humidity in the month of June, which doesn't ever happen. Another reason this event was such a great success was all the people that helped out. There were a few that I wanted to mention. Dave Montgomery was in charge of the transportation for the event, which was a daunting task. He had to make sure everybody got to and from the airport in a timely manner, as well as transport 300 people plus every evening to the events back and forth. Secondly, Ryan Parrish, who took care of all of our print work, signage, and our giveaways. He did a great job with that. Trent Iguchi was our AV and tech guy, also took the DJ role and MC at the events. And also lastly, my wife Lisa, who took charge of all the partner and spouse events and just did an amazing job. At the closing ceremony, she got the most applause of any of us, so it was a pretty good success. And finally, the Metro Fire Chiefs Conference gave Chief Happ and the Columbus Division of Fire an opportunity to showcase our city and what it has to offer. And we continue to this day get positive praise from the attendees. And again, I have to say it, the reason this was a success was because of the team that we put together and everybody that pitched in and helped out.
Thomas Cerny and Matthew Parrish, Lieutenant Matthew Thomas, firefighters Jason Mayberry, Trent Iguchi, civilians Brenda Schultz, Rebecca Deem, Beth Cottrell, and Anita Hobbs. Please come to the stage. Congratulations. Well, there's a very small group of civilians that support the Columbus Fire Department. This year's Civilian of the Year is very deserving. Please watch the video screen.
I'm Josh Bryan. I'm an EMS instructor with the City of Columbus.
My primary role with CFD is leading and developing all the continuing education and facilitating the classroom and bringing in instructors to help throughout the day. I've been with Columbus Fire. 2024 is going to make it 10 years for me. It's been an amazing ride the whole time, and over the years I just learned how to teach, how to be a people person and how to connect, and that's really helped me with the role here at Columbus. You know, learning how to engage the students, learning how to engage the population that comes into my classroom. My area is very unique for education because I see all levels, from new recruit to firefighter, lieutenants, officers, coordinators, even the fire chiefs come into my classroom. I got a very unique situation to where everybody in the division is going to roll through my classroom over a 3-year cycle. So what I do is vastly important to, you know, what happens on the street to make sure that we're addressing the right thing, we're teaching the right topic, and, you know, we're facilitating at a pace to where it keeps it more realism, keeps it more lifelike and applicable to street trends or street operations for the crews. In order to keep the students motivated, if you cast the right vision, you get purpose, you get buy-in to what you're doing, and that's just blossomed over the last couple of years. When people saw the difference in how we were delivering the education, they were excited to come to CE. I remember when I first started here 10 years ago, they would bring newspapers in and coffee and old green chairs in the CE room, and you know, now guys are coming excited. You know, they're looking forward to CE, and we see that in the feedback that they give us. It's actually keeping the instructors motivated, and that just flows right into the students. In continuing education, it's kind of a fun atmosphere sometimes. We work a lot with what we're given, so we're trying to take and create that realism to the training ground that we have. We've done things with smoke machines. We've put mannequins in fire gear and had RIT scenarios, and then the crews not only had to overcome the EMS issue, but also get the mannequin out of the fire gear in a real-time type of fashion. We bring in all kinds of outside stuff that we can to create realism. So we brought in airbags from vehicles, the surroundings, the environment, the setting we're trying to get as real as possible. So we'll use sounds, we'll use other items around a household to make it mimic a real-world application. When I'm in continuing education, when they leave the classroom, they're going directly to the street. So it has to be, you know, organized. It has to be right. There's a lot of focus on getting the fundamentals right because that's where they're going to go apply it. Because it's not about me in this job. It's about the 1,600 plus employees, plus all the civilians in the city of Columbus and the surrounding areas that visit the city. You know, what we do impacts so much, and I'm just proud to be a small part of, you know, the big organization.
And gentlemen, this year's Civilian of the Year, Josh Bryan. Josh, come to the stage. Congrats. Well, trench rescues are not a common incident and require skilled rescue technicians to overcome the mental and physical challenges. Please watch the video.
I'm John Capretta. I'm Rescue 17 on 2 unit.
My name is Mark Del Tosto. I'm Battalion 5 on 2 unit.
Battalion Chief Scott Sanders. I was Battalion 4 that day.
Captain Alan Anderson of Ladder 1, 2 unit.
My name is Justin Colby. I'm signed to Engine 17 on 2 unit.
And Chris Nyland, also assigned to Engine 17 on 2 unit.
I'm Firefighter Tom Frederick. I'm Lieutenant Caleb Baker.
Tom the Virgin, firefighter, 2 unit elite hazmat team, yes.
I'm Jack Schumacher. I'm assigned to Rescue 3 on 2 unit.
I'm Captain Mark Maddox. I work at Engine 17 on 2 unit.
Lieutenant Chris Grilly, Engine 10, 2 unit.
And Joe Harvey, Engine 19, 2 unit.
Todd Thompson, Ladder 10, 2 unit.
A once in a lifetime run, knock on wood, that I hope nobody has again.
I knew it could be very dangerous. And as we were responding in, I could hear radio traffic that we did in fact have a civilian or 2 in the trench.
Kind of try to get some people back from the trench a little bit and just kind of leave the civilian in the trench working on it. But Chief Del Tasso still had a visual on what was going on there.
We had a rescue on our hands. We did not have a body recovery. This is key for people to understand in this situation. I mean, we got there in a timely manner and we got to work right away. So that really set the pace for what this incident was going to be. It was going to be a rescue.
Observations were that we did in fact not only have a person in the trench along with another civilian rendering aid, but that it was a dire situation. I looked down in the trench from a distance and it appeared to me the victim was buried up to about his chest in mud, and the other civilian was working diligently with the machine to try to suck that mud off of him.
Yeah, that's what the initial scene was. So there was a lot of chaos going on at that point.
The victim is in the corner of the trench. It's called a toe. And it's an undercut trench, which we don't see very often. And it's hard to get a panel there above him without disturbing the soil above him.
And I knew it was going to take a lot of manpower.
What can we do with just the stuff on this truck, on a trench run, on certain different auto extrications that without having specialized equipment there yet, with structural collapse without having. So we started to go through some more of the old school things with just getting down ladders, get down backboards, use wooden cribbing, whatever we can use to start that process.
They did a fantastic job with what equipment they had, waiting on, like I said, the RSU, the rescue support unit to come and bring the additional equipment.
The gentleman who was in the trench working to save his coworker, I had never seen a vac truck work, but Isaac was working his tail off and was down in the trench. We had some stuff down the outside of the trench. I had the thought of, okay, this is gonna be a rescue. And I thought to myself, okay, well, we need to get geared up then. And so it kind of went right back into our training of okay, I need to get my harness on, I need to get my rescue helmet.
So he was in a bad way, and he could tell by his breathing, and his mental status was deteriorating. So he recognized, okay, well, if we want this guy to be viable, something needs to happen. It needs to happen fast. Do remember hearing Del Tasto say we need to get rescuers in the hole. Just felt like that was what needed to happen. And then Nyland went down initially, and then I went down shortly after.
We're gonna put this guy on oxygen because he's breathing on his own, so we can at least supplemental give him some oxygen. I had some IV stuff that I had taken down in my pocket. I knew that from being a medic that this guy was gonna have crush syndrome, so we had to get an IV and we had to get some sodium bicarb on board, or else as soon as we pulled him out of all this dirt, he would probably go into a cardiac arrhythmia and could go into cardiac arrest right there.
Our job as a hazmat team on this particular incident was to make sure the air quality down in the trench is within limits of being able to work down there without SCBAs or supplied air.
But I think we already had firefighters in the trench at that time, and I assumed, and John said, start getting the panels ready to set.
Game planning with them as to what operations were happening, making sure that we didn't have any hazards in the trench itself besides the unstable dirt.
He was still kind of writhing around trying to free himself however he could, fighting for his life. And so when I put the oxygen mask on him, he had, I think one of his arms was just out, So I popped tourniquet on him real quick. Thankfully, was able to get an IV right away. And the boys up top already had, I think they handed Colby the bicarb bag, and so we're getting the stuff hooked up. And so we had that flowing in.
We had an oxygen mask on him, so they got that started. Actually, they got it on him, and then the man, you moved his arm and pulled the IV out again. So Justin grabbed the other side, his other arm, and got the IV for the second time and got the fluids going.
So I'm kind of finessing it, loosening up the dirt. Colby and I in the bottom of the trench, along with the guys up top, gave a good solid ready, go. We pulled up on him as much as we could to get him out, and the guys just levitated him out of that trench. I mean, he never stopped. I remember walking up after we got out of the trench, and they were just getting ready to take off, and I saw that they were breathing for him. They're like, he's still, he's got a good pulse. He's got good vital signs, and it's like, cool. I think he's got a shot, And
Chris Nyland and Justin Colby are the epitome of what Columbus firefighters are. These guys are fantastic. They're courageous. They're brave. I'm really proud of them.
And it's all situation dependent, but if you got a chance to save somebody's life, that's kind of what it's all about at the end of the day. So.
And I'm really proud of our rescue techs and the crew that was there, because they thought outside the box.
Putting your firefighters in harm's way is a tough decision, but it was a time to, if we were going to save somebody, we had to do it now, and we did. And I'll honestly tell you, I'm super proud of everybody there on that scene.
And we're very fortunate here at 17s, and Columbus Fire is very fortunate. We have very good training, and our rescue techs are very good.
The coworker who worked so hard to help free him is awarded the Citizens Distinguished Service Award. Isaac Bryant, please come to the stage. Congratulations. Understand. Thank you, by the way. Appreciate that. Well, congratulations again to Isaac. Please give him our best. And the highest award given by the fire department, the Medal of Valor, is awarded to firefighter Justin Colby and firefighter Christopher Nyland. Please come to the stage. Congratulations. What an honor. And ladies and gentlemen, one final one. The Distinguished Service Award is awarded to Battalion Chief Mark Del Tosto. Please come to the stage. All others receiving the EMS Award of Merit on this historic run, please stand. Congratulations. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the awards presented tonight. On behalf of my wife, Lexi, and I, we thank you for inviting us. Please know that my family, all of us, are very grateful. We love you very much, and we appreciate your service. And one last time, it gives me great pleasure to welcome back to the stage Deputy Chief James Sanson.
Thank you, Brandon. Wonderful job tonight. Appreciate you coming out here to help us with this ceremony. Thank you to citizens, the firefighters, for sharing these amazing, courageous, and emotional stories today. It's not something that we do easily, but we're gracious that you did that in front of a large crowd today. We have to remember that there's family and friends that are your support system, and we need to recognize the sacrifices that they make every holiday, every weekend, every 24-hour shift, that you're gone so you can do these courageous acts. So without them, you wouldn't be here today. So thank you to the friends and family here today. I'm just going to quickly go through some thank yous for the award ceremony. Just like we saw today, it takes a team of people to get these things done. So very quickly, just thank Safety Director's Office, Director Kate Bisciotti, Deputy Director Michael Halloran, Fire Chief Happ, Firefighter Elvin Pinckney, the Columbus Honor Guard, Columbus Police and Fire Pipes and Drums, the members of the Awards Committee, videographers, Nick Calderon, James Miller, Trent Iguchi, Christopher Klein, our ushers today, Firefighter Thomas Eckenrud, Steve Sigward, and Fran Sigward, Firefighter Sam Towns, Division Photographer Laura Gardner, our volunteers at the registration desk, Brenda Schultz, Amy Rake, Amanda Runk, and Kelly Seamer. And obviously the staff here at the Fawcett Center for feeding us and giving us some drinks tonight. And again, thank you to Brandon Boxer. Appreciate you and your wife coming out to be a part of us tonight. And lastly, we have to recognize Beth Cottrell. She is the mastermind behind this awards banquet. She's been giving us orders for weeks, maybe months. So please give her a hug, shake her hand, let her know she did a wonderful job tonight. Now I have our benediction. I'll ask that firefighter chaplain Joe Lorenz join us.
Thank you, everyone, for tonight. I just want to encourage with some final thoughts before I close this up in prayer tonight. Service and sacrifice for the greater good can be summed up in one word. That's love. I was recently in a setting this week where there was a retired Central Ohio captain who mentioned to everyone in the room, he said, you came to this job and you continue to do this job, and just the fact that you did this demonstrates that some level of love is at work in you. And so that is why we show up, is because of the level of love that we have, whether it is the love of the job or the love that we have for the people who we work with or the people we work for or the people we're called to serve, or maybe the love of the Lord who gave us and blessed us with health and the opportunity to do it. But in one way, shape, or form, there is some love and passion that is at work. And because of that, that's why we do what we do and just show up doing what we do. Love desires to benefit others at the expense of self, because love desires to give. You've probably heard this many times in this setting, a quote from the Gospel of St. John, chapter 15, that says, the Lord said, greater love has no one than this, but that he lays down his life for his friends. And so because of that love demonstrated for us, freely we have received, freely we have the opportunity to demonstrate that love in the line of service that we are called to do. And so to quote retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, he said it this way. He said, we all can give our lives in many ways, but he said, love is greatest demonstrated not necessarily in the sacrifice of our life, but in living a life of sacrifice. And we all can do that. And so continue with that passion. Thank you for that passion. Thank you for that love that you serve with, and continue to make a difference. And I pray God's blessing upon us as you continue to make the difference. I invite you to bow your heads with me as we close with the final word of prayer tonight. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you once again for this opportunity to gather together. We thank you for all of the wonderful things that have taken place this year. We thank you for lives that were saved. We thank you for opportunities that were seized. We thank you for courage. We thank you for strength. We thank you for training. We thank you for continuity of leadership and crew continuity. We thank you, Lord, for an opportunity like tonight to be able to get together with our family, with our friends, with our loved ones, with those who went before us and who have retired and gone on, but set such a great example for us. We just pray your blessing upon everyone tonight. We pray your safety as we continue to go back and to serve into this wonderful city that you have called us to. And we thank you once again. We honor you. We give honor where honor is due, and we thank you for this opportunity. And I pray this blessing upon you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. God bless you.
Thank you, Firefighter Lorenz. So I guess as we sat here tonight, I want to let you know that winter has arrived. So please be careful. The roads are a little slick and icy out there. So please take your time. Get home to your family and friends. Thank you, and we'll see you again next year.